In the first application period, you each took different approaches to evaluating applications by small businesses. Can you discuss that process and what steps are being taken to maximize participation by small firms?
I'll start for NTIA. In our application process, we made it clear that applications brought by the SDBs, the socially disadvantaged businesses, would receive extra consideration. This appears in two parts of our evaluation. We have 4 areas in which we review applications, and in 2 of the areas, purpose and viability, the reviewers evaluating these applications are directed to give extra consideration in terms of extra scoring for projects that have where the applicant is an SDB or where the applicant has partnered with an SDB. Those 2 categories account for over 50% of the total score of an application. So depending on how the reviewer evaluates the application, they can give a substantial weight to that. And in fact, in one of the categories, they cannot even give a perfect score unless an SDB is actually part of the application.
Okay. Mr. Alderson.
We also provided advantage for small and disadvantaged businesses in our application process. We did extensive outreach along with the NTIA throughout the country, particularly trying to reach out to small businesses. One of the problems we've had, of course, you talked about the application process being unwieldy. We did agree to have a 2-step process so that rather than have to provide all of the information in the first round, there would be a 2-step application process where the applicant would give initial information, and we would ask certain applicants that were to advance into the process for additional information so that a small business would not be burdened with the entire need to provide all the detailed financial information in the first round, but rather we'd give them a 2-round process. And also during the application process, we found some issues in the system that were making it difficult for businesses to get their applications in. We tried to respond to that by providing an extra week to respond, allowing applicants who were having issues to get us their applications through different media if it wasn't working through our online intake system.
You provided stats on number of firms applying. Do you have any preliminary estimates of how much money will actually go to small firms?
We don't know yet. We're still in the middle of the application process, and it's very difficult to predict who is going to end up with the awards. We know how many we got in, but we don't necessarily know yet how many will go out to small businesses.
That's true for us as well.
Mr. Strickland, the requirement that BTOP applicants provide matching funds of 20% could prove a major obstacle for small businesses, and especially now given the economic climate and the fact that they are having so much trouble in accessing affordable capital. Given that the NTIA has the authority to grant waivers, how is your agency working to reduce this challenge for small companies?
Right. Well, you're correct that in the first instance, we do have the waiver authority where an applicant can make a compelling case that they were unable to provide the full match. We can take that into consideration. We have not yet brought forward any of those requests for decision yet, and will only do so as projects go through the due diligence process. The other thing that I guess I would urge consideration of is the fact that one of the big benefits of this program, even in communities that don't actually receive funding from us, is the discussions that this program has generated all across the country. And we're getting groups together who haven't been talking to each other in the past to talk about how can our community be served by the broadband grant program, and organizing themselves in partnerships and consortia in terms of putting applications together. So even if an individual small business might find the application process challenging, might have concerns about finding the matching dollars on its own, we are seeing case after case of groups of entities forming together, banding together to bring an application to us. We think that that's a very important and interesting development that the Act has caused without spending a single dollar, and we hope to see that sort of organizational activity continue on across the nation as a way of people to kind of bring their demand, aggregate their demand together into a project that maybe we'll be able to fund, but even if we're not, it becomes perhaps a more attractive project for private industry to fund.
Okay, thanks. You're supposed to announce grant and loan awards by November 7th. Are you on schedule to meet this target?
Well, we said no sooner than November 7th, but we're really looking like it's more likely to be in December possibly. We may be able to get some out in November yet, not clear, but given the complexity and the overwhelming demand for the program, it appears that is slipping by at least a few weeks.
So what type of updates have you given to the applicants regarding their pending applications?
Well, we're still evaluating most of the applications. We have sent some forward to due diligence, and we've asked for that second round of information from a handful of applicants, and we're considering asking more for that information in the very near future. So we generally have not given them a lot of updates. We're still going through and processing those applications.
Okay. Some small service providers, Mr. Alderstein, have been critical of the requirement giving the RUS an exclusive first lien on projects receiving federal money. Many small firms have suggested that this was a detractor to even applying. Is anything being done to mitigate this challenge for small applicants?
Yes, we are looking at different legal opportunities for them. I actually spoke before the hearing with the representative who will testify this afternoon for the American Cable Association, who indicated for them it was a major hurdle, and we understand that. Obviously, we have a very long history in doing loans, and we tend to put a very strong first lien on the assets of the company in order to secure the position of the United States so that we can ensure that our position is protected. That's critical for a number of reasons, not only to protect the taxpayers, but also to protect the program so that going forward we can continue to have that 1% default rate I talked about, and to the extent that we do get defaults, there's either a small or minimized loss to the United States. That being said, I understand that for small businesses, they have a hard time because they may have financing out from a private bank or financier, and we come in and say we need to have the first lien, and that can create a conflict with their existing financial
Violating
structure.
the terms of those loans that have been granted to them.
Exactly. So that requires either a renegotiation with their existing financier or some fear about applying in the first place. Normally, what we do in this situation is do a individualized custom mortgage and work with the other lenders to come up with an arrangement, an accommodation. In the case of this program, our concern is that because of the size and the scope and the number of applications that are coming through in short order, that it's more difficult for us to do a custom mortgage for each one of the applicants, which makes it tougher basically to accommodate these concerns. We are
So how can you mitigate that for them?
Our plan to mitigate is a good question, is to think about are there some different options for mortgages that we could provide. We provided a model on our application portal where people could see what it would look like to have the first lien, which is the fairly strong one. I think it might have scared away some applicants, and understandably so. Now we're looking at coming up with maybe a variety of them. Rather than having custom ones for each applicant that comes in, maybe a small number, a limited number of different options that they could choose from, some of which may accommodate their existing financial arrangements.
This is a very important issue for small companies, and I hope that you can get a way to mitigate such a requirement.
Thank you. We will try to do that.